Hey, greetings, Performance Reviews, where I give you the review from the technician's point of view. And I've got a Decade 80 or Hoover convertible, depending on how you look at it. This was like not the final form of the Hoover convertible. That would come later with the royal name. That's a story for another day. This is one of the later iterations and one of the updates. It's got a like side headlight and all the height adjustments right there. Really, I'm not quite sure really if it's all that different, but I've won one. I think they're cool. They're very funky in 80s. These are usually scratched to shit. This one's no different, though it's actually pretty decent. Believe it or not, they're usually worse than that. So I've thought about paying a lot of money for one of these before. I say a lot. I've thought about paying like $60 for one of these. Of course, I'm not going to do that. I found this one at a thrift store. I was so happy to find it at the thrift store because I had been at the thrift store a couple days earlier with the wife, and I went back with some vacuum friends of mine, and lo and behold, they had this, so I'm happy to have it. So they're going to start stripping it down and doing the things necessary to wash it. Oh, let's a replacement A-bag. Yeah, no, that's not happening. Now, if you've never taken one of these apart before, they are very straightforward. I'm more just making the video because it's fun. I don't think there are a lot of people actually interested in this machine. This is not something that's going to get a lot of views, but I enjoy fixing vacuums and I enjoy this vintage of Hoover. So you're going to come along for the ride whether you like it or not. And first thing we're going to do is remove the outer bag, zip the outer bag up, and, well, it's got a hole in it, but we're going to throw that in the washing machine. The next thing I'm going to do is, I already started the dishwasher. I'm going to go stop it and put this in because this desperately needs to go in the dishwasher, in case you weren't familiar. So that's the first thing I'm doing. The next thing we're going to do is pull the handle off with the cord. And I'm more doing this because my bench is tall because I'm tall, and if I don't do this, I'm going to hit this light a million times while we're filming, and you're not going to like that. Anyways, this should just come off. There it is. There's a quick disconnect in here. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing that they did. A lot of people are like, vacuums don't usually have quick disconnects. Yeah, they did. They did. They should. Anything that you can have to take apart that's electrical, you should have something of that sort. So we'll take this and we'll just put that in here. A couple threads. Right, I want to get the fan in the dishwasher too, and probably the base plate while we're at it, because there's room in it right now. These do have a tendency to corrode in the dishwasher. I will fix it after it's corroded and polish it up. Now here's the Achilles heel of this machine. You had this nice heavy-duty brush roller with these cheap plastic. Bleh. Anyways, I don't know why Hoover did that. Anyways, this is the part where if you had a preference for Eureka, it might have made some sense. Anyways, let's get to cleaning this sucker. Let's see if I have any dates anywhere. Serial number 0020, I believe that would be 1990. Oh, doesn't matter. And you just gotta wiggle the height adjustment until that comes off. That's brilliant. I will hand wash that. So now it's starting to look a lot like a convertible. So you notice this is slightly different. There's not nearly as much chewing that goes on with like the Hoover Elites and stuff. This is again a much higher quality machine than would later come. This is probably right before really the downfall of Hoover, in my opinion. So we instead have a very overbuilt, well thought out machine. Yeah, there's 2 light bulbs on this. That was the thing. That was one of the improvements that was made, and they achieved that basically with a little extra bracket. Rather ingenious on Hoover's part. And unlike the Eureka sanitary variants, this machine is going to come apart with Phillips screws and flatheads. You're not going to switch to like 4 different types of screw hardware, which I rather think is brilliant. All right, so now the gasket is also much better on these versus the sanitary. The gasket on this is like, it's like a silicone or something. Anyways, if the motor has trouble getting out, just give it a little love tap like that, and that should help settle it off the base. Nope, this one is stuck on there. So, there we go. I did settle it loose with that love tap. Anyways, so what I want to pull off is the fan, because I want to wash the fan. Yeah, you can see like this silicone gasket they put on. It's much, much higher quality than the sanitaries would later get. And I believe this is reversed. Let me grab a bigger screwdriver. I'm trying to remember. This is also the newer fan. They would remove fan blades on this fan to aid in reliability. So this fan was probably replaced at some point. So I believe that it was done post this. I could be wrong. So don't quote me on that. That's about as bare as we need to go there. So now we are going to wash some of this up. Maybe I'll remove the motor. I'm not sure what I want to remove yet, if anything. I might just do this all in one piece. But that's what I want to do before the dishwasher. Yeah, because this has this additional thing on here, and that's kind of a weird thing. It says do not lubricate. You should absolutely lubricate this. It has a sleeve bearing on top. So I'm going to go wash some things. We'll turn the camera back on. All right, you can see we've changed camera angles here. We're going to start putting this Decade 80 back together. Man, I love the Decade 80 so much. I just think it's so cool. So, like, it really is representative of the 80s. I even have the part intact. There's some extra pieces here you have to be careful with. These things are weird, and they are for the adjuster. I like to just set them how they came off. And let's open this up. Sometimes they wiggle up like that, sometimes they do not. There we go. All right. So we're going to do a couple things here. We want to make sure that this fan is not chewing itself to death in there. And believe it or not, this one's not getting like a full... These are good to go just with a simple wipe down most of the time. Rarely do these need more than that. So I've got this, and this says do not oil. It's like permanently oiled, or depending on how old the one is. The newer ones weren't stamped. They're supposed to be permanently oil impregnated. And spoiler alert, they were not meant to last as long as they ended up lasting. These motors are good for like 3,000 working hours. They're crazy, maybe more. And I don't think they ever intended it to last that long, and it just did. So that's why there's like commercial variants of these. These are just meant to go and be used, and kind of a buy it once for life sort of thing. All right, so that's been done. Now I've got a little bit of corrosion in there. I haven't seen corrosion in one of these in a minute. Oh, you know what it is? It's not corrosion. That's why it's so sticky. Somebody put grease in here. Okay. They put too much grease in there, but a little bit of grease in there actually isn't a bad thing. They put probably about double what you want to put in there. Let me show you how much grease to put in there. See that? Like that. That's it. And then you need to mix oil with it. And they just threw grease in there. That's weird. Okay. Yeah, so you want to you fill this up with oil, and the idea is that this gets soaked with oil on these. Anyways, with the kind of oil I'm using, it's not going to make a difference because, well, it stays. If you're familiar with some of these synthetic oils, they'll still lubricate for a very long time, and in this kind of application, essentially forever. But if there's any excess, always wipe it off. Nobody wants a smelly oil machine. So now we've put this on. I'm not going to tighten this up yet because I need to put the Hoover crap back, wipe down the cardboard. So these are some of the things that make it a Decade 80, are these weird sort of add-ons and thoughts that were supposed to add value with the Hoover company. I'm looking at this. Yeah. Ain't that weird? Okay, I see how all that goes. Okay, I had the motor slanted. I was like, this just does not line up, but it lines up. All right, so all that makes much more sense now. And all that just goes out there like that, in case you're wondering. And again, this is all Bakelite stuff, so do it by hand. Careful with it. All right, all that makes sense now. Wonderful. Pop this here. And again, unlike the Eurekas, you can just clean this gasket and it's good to go for a very long time. I can't recall having to replace one of these. Oh, well, I say that and it comes off. So we will do that. It's just silicone though. It literally is silicone. So we'll actually, this somebody's silicone this. This isn't the gasket they would have come with this. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to scrape this. Let's do this and I'll turn the camera back on when we're ready. I didn't want anybody to think that I was neglecting the bottom bearing. I'm gonna repack that as well with the age of this machine. This is not something I would do to a customer's machine, but because it's mine and it's going to be basically a museum piece. Some good long life grease is a great idea to keep this thing up and running for years to come. Yeah, it was pretty dry. There's no grease in here, but there's grease in the other bearing. So yeah, this is a tool I made, if you're wondering what this is. I do not have these for sale, so don't ask. It's a tool I made for specifically doing this with motors where the plate is hard to remove. Not that this one's hard to remove, but it's just what I do with this. And then we're just going to take a Q-tip and wipe off the excess so that it doesn't attract dirt. Yeah, this is going to sing when you turn it on. Excuse me. Let's grab the fan. All right, here's the fan. If you're unaware of how these go, spacer, washer, new style fan. This guy, he will be your friend if you drop a couple drops of oil on those threads. And then this guy goes on there. And then his reverse thread. No. Yeah. His reverse thread. You'll just turn him and he'll just grip just like a sanitaire fan. Unfortunately, like the sanitaire fan, you can't wrench these off as easy. That's a bit hard. Man, that does. Yeah, those bearings were almost seized in there. Yeah, those bearings, wow. That made it, that wow, really needed it. Okay. Just gonna do this. And like a lot of old machines, I usually just end up silicone saling them so that they're sealed. This one's gonna be no different. We'll just clean this off here. Inspect the fan chamber for holes or anything like that. Some of these had metal fan chambers. See some of the convertibles. I'm not sure if the Decade 80s actually ever had them. I'm not really... You'll notice on the channel a lot, I just refer to things as the style. The parts are kind of interchangeable. And that's just kind of the curse of having worked on so many. All right, well, we're going to give it a nice new bead of silicone. That may have been the original. I just looked at another part that would have been siliconed on the base plate, and that may have just been the original silicone from back in the day. It's all right. We're just going to put a new bead on there. That just means we're going to have to wait a little bit before we turn it on. And then as you put this back in together, you're going to line this thing up. No, I just did that wrong. There we go. And, oh yeah, the Decade 80 goes under there. All right, that's cool. That is lined up good. And now you're going to want to just put our screws on. I guess they're fairly big screws. I always forgot how big these screws were. And unlike a sanitary, the screw doesn't actually go through any of the naughty bits. So that's nice. You do use a screw to clamp that. Oh. And, that's right. This has, this little thing goes in here for the extra light. Hoover liked their lights. Okay, once that's done, I'm just going to check my hand torque. By hand, yeah. That silicone, we're going to give it a little bit more of a torque. Yeah, that one, the rear was not set. All right, that was basically essential. That filament's gone. Oh, those are both gone. The bulbs back on. You can see this is just a lot more elegant than the later Hoovers, and definitely more elegant than the F&G Eurekas in terms of how all this stuff worked. And then this guy just kind of goes in there, and that's how that works. Excellent. Now, before we do anything else, I'm going to get some light bulbs. Okay, folks, thanks for hanging in there. It's been a long one. I decided to try my LED bulbs that say they're 200 lumen, which will be ridiculously bright, in there and see what happens. I'm also going to grab some Loctite, and as we attach the handle here, we'll Loctite that. Let's put the lid back on here. And the lid is funky. You do have to sometimes move these levers around. There we go. And then gotta peel this off. As I wash this, I wanted to really protect this label. I hand washed it, but you can see just not too much came off. It just happens with this. It's just kind of age. I will say, I know this seems ghetto, folks. But silver Sharpie is very, very, very close to that. Just something I noticed about Hoover and silver over the years. So that is where I've blown out already. So unlike the Eurekas of the time, these had two screws holding them in place. I guess there were Eurekas like this, but Hoover did it longer. So you just want to make sure they're lined up before you go screwing. So as you notice, I didn't actually wash this part in the dishwasher. It really isn't that nasty. So I'm going to just real quick, maybe we'll speed the footage up. Just clean up the rest of this the best I can. Just so there's no thrift store dust or dirt on here. Yeah. All right, and then this I'm just going to scrub. You know, I talk about Kirby's with air turbulence. Some of this would have created similar problems with air turbulence. I really want to use this, so I'm not going to do super clean on there. So that is that. I guess it's time to address the elephant in the room, which is the brush roller. Brush roller's in fabulous condition for its age. The rust is pretty normal. A little bit of steel wool on the beaters. It's always a good idea. Everything else about this is fabulous. There's some stickers and stuff. I suspect this was replaced at some time. This dent here is from me. I dropped it on the bench. Whoopsies. So we'll deal with that here in a few minutes. I'm sure that will give me a mini headache. If you haven't seen me do these before, these bearings are not sealed in any way. They need to be cleaned out. They are just going to be the nastiest thing you've ever seen. And this is one of the reasons why, again, some of the Eurekas were better in some ways than the Hoovers, because they used these bearings all the way up until TTI bought them. Even Maytag was foolish enough to continue using these bearings, among other things. So really your friends are going to be some commercial degreaser. If you have like a needle or something on your bench, you're going to want to do that, because these are fucking just look at that. That's just gross. And that's going to keep it from turning smoothly. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and then I'll turn the camera back on. Well, this actually wasn't that bad after it straightened itself off with the end cap. Here's what the clean bearings should look like. Yep, that's basically it. And, well, we're going to put some grease in there real quick. And, I mean, 6 months to a year, this should probably be done on any of these to get any regular use. You know, if it's just going to sit in a vacuum collection, probably never needs to be done again. But just something. And then you don't just put grease in the front. They need just a little bit in the back too, where the race retainer is. So just make sure you put some in there. And this will, no, there's nothing you can do. This is just going to get nasty over and over and over again. Back in the day, what I used to do with these was just I would just take them out and switch them out for another set. So I used to do like 20, 50 of these at a time, degrease them, soak them in commercial degreaser, blow them out, and then just repack them all at once. And I had the Hoover grease gun for doing this. There was actually a grease gun for doing this. I'd love to get me another one of those. If I could find a shop that had one, I would buy it in an instant. Alright, so that mess is all from this brush roller, and there's some crap I blew in the trash. So we've taken that. And so the first thing you want to do is just put this in here. Alright, find the hole. Next, you have some pressure washers. They're still kind of dirty. Wipe them off. So your pressure washers go in, and your bearings. Very simple. Now, if you have metal end caps, that would be fabulous. Huh, mine did not. Mine had plastic end caps. And these are, I swear this part was planned obsolescence, them putting these on this roller. I think the new one, they went back to metal end caps, if I'm not mistaken. The TTI one with the sealed ball bearings. All right, so that mess is gross. Let's throw that away. And now get different gloves, change them, whatever. I was lucky enough, mine came with a spare belt, though I don't know the status or how good or bad it is. So let's put the brush roller on. All right, I'm going to put a link below. So these belts, they basically dry rot and then they become not stretchy. Style 48. I'll put a link in the description, along with some quality Hoover A bags as well. It really does make a difference. Anyways, you watch how much easier that is. Woo, wonderful. So now we can just put this on. All that is what you expected, right? Super easy. Just a little bit of oil on the axles, since they've been working overtime for years. Cuts down squeaking. All right, now I'm happy to continue. So as we put the handle on, you're gonna notice, oh boy. Which way does that go? Does it go both ways? No. I was thinking, it looked like it went both ways for a second. I was like, no, that can't be. That would confuse people. So that just goes down there, on there, and then you are left with this, and you should Loctite it if you have Loctite. If you don't, you can substitute some super glue. So I'm not really a fan of doing that. You grab some Loctite. And blue Loctite is great for this sort of thing. The hell did my newer tube go? Sorry, I've got a new tube and an old tube. There you go. Some Loctite. Grab a rag on there. So put that. Just clean that. Just clean that out. And that goes right there. And that cable is going to be kind of in the way, so you just have to work around it. Don't pinch the cable. And then we just tighten her up. Clear out the old excess Loctite. Don't want that staining your carpet. And you'll feel it, but these are slightly loose. All right. So now that we've cleaned everything else up, it's time for the bag. The bag is just going to lock on, and when you're doing your service, you clean this so that this locks on and just fits in right there. Now my bag has a little bit of a hole, unfortunately. Not a big deal. If your bag has a little bit of a hole, there's a couple of things we can do here. You can use clear tape. Mine is like the same color as duct tape, so I'm actually just going to make a quick duct tape patch with it. And this will keep it from being sticky on the other side as well. And this is just going to go on just like a Eureka, basically. That will go up there. And then your type A bag just sits on here. I'm of course going to use a HEPA bag. And that just goes on there. Grab a little bit of oil and just put it on your zipper. This will prolong the life of your zipper. All right. Well, let's see how bright my Decade 80 is now. That sounds good. Not the best, but it's good enough. That'll probably get better with a little bit of use. Well, thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. It is now almost midnight here in the shop, so I'm going to go get some sleep. You folks take care. Enjoying the conversation on Discord, of course. If you want to talk more about vacuums, comment below. Love to hear from you if you have a Decade 80, what your thoughts are. Have a great night.